Good morning. Magandang umaga. Good morning. There you go. Magandang umaga. Thank you, RJ, for the introduction. Meron pong panahon na sabi po nila magkamukha kami ni RJ Ledesma. Pareho kaming kulot. Pero magkaiba na yung salamin namin, kaya hindi na siguro. Thank you, RJ. Of course, Mr. Joey Concepcion, good morning. We were actually at breakfast together. Can we please give a round of applause for Sir Joey? And of course, our Executive Director, Mon Lopez of Negosyo, magandang umaga. To all of the angelpreneurs, to all of our students here, all of our innovative guests, magandang umaga. And of course, our friends from the U.S. Embassy, good morning. It is truly an honor to speak to you today and be among allies in enterprise development. For us who have been working in the field of entrepreneurship, for those of us who have been pushing to get more support for our local micro, small, and medium enterprises, these are truly exciting times. People often ask me, Senator Aquino, why MSMEs? Bakit maliliit na negosyante yung gusto mong tulungan? After all, it won't get you in the headlines. Well, simply because we have to. Because inclusive growth, because our support for our MSMEs is our biggest challenge today, to be able to make sure that the economic growth that the Philippines have reaches all the way to our Philippine countryside. Yan po yung pinakamalaking challenge na meron po tayo ngayon. So in many ways, inclusive growth is more than just a buzzword, it's more than just a political slogan. Inclusive growth is the imperative that our country has to face. And MSME development, the great work that Negosyo does, is one of the direct contributors to our inclusive growth. When we help our MSMEs, when we help our local businessmen, we create more jobs, we create a more vibrant economy, and we distribute the economic growth that currently is entering our country. We distribute the economic growth that gets to places like Metro Manila, that gets to places like Cebu and Davao and Iloilo City and Cagayan de Oro City, but does not get outside of the city centers. By pushing for MSME development, by doing the work that Negosyo does, we are able to make sure that our country is stronger, more equitable, and more sustainable. Kaya po mga kaibigan, ito po yung focus namin sa aming opisina. Ito rin po yung focus ng Negosyo for the past decade. To make sure that our micro, small, and medium enterprises get the support that they need. You know, a few months ago, we had the APEC Summit here in Manila, and we had the Small and Medium Enterprise, or SME Summit, where the country, the region, and the world asserted the key to sustainable and inclusive growth is the success of our micro, small, and medium enterprises. They came up with the theme, Building Inclusive Economies, Building a Better World. And when President Aquino spoke, he said, business leads to the creation of even more opportunities for other Filipinos. The Philippines is determined to lead efforts to spur the growth of our APEC SMEs. On the other hand, President Obama, in his State of the Union address, said, in this new economy, workers and startups and small businesses need more of a voice, not less. The rules should work for them. And not just President Obama and President Aquino, we have numerous world leaders. Here in Manila a few months ago during the APEC, they all signed the accord saying, MSME development is one of the pillars for building an inclusive economy and building a better world for all of us. So mga kaibigan, with these world leaders pushing for MSME development, with people and groups like Negosyo and sila Sir Joey pushing the MSME development advocacy for the past years, it really is currently the best time to rally all of us behind the MSME sector, push for the right policies and programs to empower entrepreneurs and empower our country. Of course, baka nagtatanong po kayo, I'm not a re-electionist, so I am actually here for another 3 years. And in those next 3 years, we will make sure that we will pass even better policies to support our MSMEs. I see Mon Abrea here in the crowd, and we will pass our MSME tax reform law next Congress, Mon. I promise you. So mga kaibigan, the success of our MSME sector lies in the hearts and hands of our creative, innovative, determined Filipino entrepreneurs, many of whom are here today. And these entrepreneurs continue to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs to do their best, to be innovative, to be creative, and to push the envelope of development in our country. So today, I would like to share with you 3 very short stories of successful models on the ground. These 3 stories, meron pong Luzon, meron pong Visayas, meron pong Mindanao na kwento. The first one we will talk about is based in Mindanao. It's based in Davao City. And we call this story, Ooh Baby Baby. Can you say that with me? Ooh Baby Baby. Yes. Okay, because this first story is about ube in Davao City. In fact, this story is about Barangay Katigan in Toril. And in that little barangay, meron pong mga ube farmers doon. We have ube farmers there, supported by the social enterprise Purple Passion. Purple Passion is a group of social entrepreneurs based in Gawad, Kalinga. And they came to these farmers bringing in some innovation, some development, a lot of creativity, and a lot of guts. What they did was they worked with the farmers to produce this product, Enchanted Jams. And these jams are now being sold in stores all over Davao City, in bakeries and in pastry shops. Ito pong Purple Passion Ube Jam is a successful product that's currently being sold, made from the produce of our ube farmers in Toril in Davao City. After a few months, they decided to innovate further, and they came up with ube powder, which they now sell to industrial clients. So these farmers, initially just 2 hectares worth of ube production, was partnered with a social enterprise called Purple Passion. They developed the product Enchanted Jams using some level of design and some advice in terms of formulation. They came up with a really nice product, and after a few months, they innovated even more, and now they're selling ube powder to industrial clients. From the 2 hectares that our farmers in Davao City were tilling, they're now up to 30 hectares of production. And by the end of the year, they will hit 50 hectares of production of this ube. Thank you, Mon. Salamat. Now, can you imagine the setup that happened? You had farmers who were producing ube. Previously, they were just selling the root crop at dirt cheap prices to consolidators. You had a social entrepreneur coming in, bringing in design, bringing in innovation, bringing in creativity, bringing in market knowledge by knowing the taste that would sell. They created a product. Can we go back to the Enchanted Jam product? A product that I will say can compete with any other ube jam in the Philippines. And I dare say, if you see this ube jam in a store shelf in another country, that can even compete with other jams all over the world. And what they did was they weren't happy with a mediocre product. They weren't happy with a cheap-looking product that tasted, a little off. They worked with the farmers to innovate and create a product that can sell and compete in the market, and can compete, I dare say, not just in the Philippines, but with the rest of the world. That's what innovation can bring to our farmers in Davao City. And now, the numerous farmers and their families, up to 30 hectares of production, at the end of the year, 50 hectares of production, now we see how some level of design and innovation can actually mean better income for our poor families in the Philippines. Ito po ang kwento ng Purple Passion, Ube Bebe. My second story is Luzon-based. This is in Nueva Ecija, and this story is called My Heart Will Go Onion. Okay, can we say that? Heart will go onion, di ba? Okay, kasi ito po kwento ng mga onion farmers naman. This is a story of onion farmers in San Jose, Nueva Ecija. They're a group that you may not know of, but I'm sure you have tasted their product. Why is that? Because these farmers are the farmers that directly sell their onions to Jollibee Philippines. And in fact, during periods of harvest, 80% of all of the onions in all of the products of Jollibee with onions come from this farmers cooperative in San Jose, Nueva Ecija. Now, this is a story, I really love this story because it's simple in the sense that it was made because of a few important decisions, but it's quite complicated in the sense that it took so much effort to get it up and running. But what happened here is that 8 years ago, the heads of Jollibee, the owners of Jollibee, Grace and Tony Tangkakyong, made a decision. They made an executive decision to source as much as possible their raw ingredients from local sources. And to be frank, it was a bold move 8 years ago because during that time, they weren't getting their products directly from the farmers. They were either importing or getting from consolidators. But that decision to buy directly from the farmers became an 8-year journey for Jollibee. The first 2 years were very difficult, not to be frank, and they will admit this. It took a lot of effort to get the farmers to sell at the quality and quantity that Jollibee wanted. But after the first 2 years, with the help of Catholic Relief Services, the local government unit, and a number of government agencies, the farmers, when organized into a cooperative, were able to sell directly to the commissary of Jollibee. In the Philippines, for your farmers' products to get to your table, it usually goes through 5 layers. 5 layers po yan. Each layer will, of course, get its own cut from the profit and the margin, leaving our farmers usually with very, very little. But because of this decision of Jollibee to source directly from the local farmers in San Jose, Nueva Ecija, they saw that skipping those 5 layers captured the value for our farmers in Nueva Ecija from the Kalasag farmers. And they saw that by working with Jollibee directly working with their supply chain, their lives improved greatly. Their houses, made of wood before, were now made of concrete. They now had motorcycles to move around. They were able to send their children to school, and some even went to college. And of course, when I visited them and we left, they all took out their cell phones and we all had selfies together. So may pera rin pang selfie, may pang smartphone. If you look at this type of project, you may say it's not very high-tech. I think today we'll have a lot of discussions on the high-tech side. But it is still innovation. Because Jollibee and these farmers, they innovated a traditional model of their supply chain. They innovated a traditional model of doing business, and they said, we will do business differently. And that innovation led directly to the lives of these farmers improving, and for Jollibee to now have a stable supply chain that they can bank on. Not victim to changes in foreign exchange, not victim to changes in the market, a steady supply chain that they can access directly with local farmers, which has benefited both the company and the farmers directly. This last story is a Visayas story. Ito naman po based in Iloilo. So as you notice, I have a Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao story. Ito naman po, ang tawag natin dito, cake me up before you go negosyo. Okay, mahaba. Papasabi ko ba sa inyo? Sige, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Cake me up before you go negosyo. Okay. Kasi ito po, kwento naman ng cake. This is a story about cake. This is the story of Melvin and Myrna Rojo of Iloilo City and their business called Myrn's Creation. Now, this is an interesting story because Melvin and Myrna are OFWs. Ano po sila? Nagtrabaho sa Brunei for a long time. They worked in Brunei for, I think, more than a decade. And when Melvin turned 55, he was asked to go home because there's a age requirement in Brunei. When they went home, after a few days, they visited the Negosyo Center in Iloilo City. I think Mon visited the Iloilo Negosyo Center as well. It was our second Negosyo Center to be put up. In fact, it was inaugurated, if I'm not mistaken, November or December 2014. So by February of 2015, when Melvin and Myrna went home, they visited the Negosyo Center and they asked for help, which is, of course, what the Negosyo Centers should do, provide support for our entrepreneurs. There they met Mutya. Let's show Mutya. That's the lady in white. They met Mutya, who is the business counselor of the Negosyo Center. The business counselors of the Negosyo Centers are our DTI personnel that we train to be able to provide the right mentorship and the right support for our micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs. And I love this story because Mutya was able to guide them and mentor them in a way that I think has never been found in government before. She talked to them, she met with them, she advised them, she asked them, of course, what's your passion? Which is, of course, I think one of the first questions that we ask in Go Negosyo. And Myrna said, well, I actually know how to make cakes. I used to sell cakes in Brunei. Sabi niyang ganyan. Pero dito, as a returning OFW, Melvin and I are unemployed. So, of course, Myrna said, if you know how to make cakes and you're good at it, why don't we develop a business around that? So, they worked at the cake business. Eventually, Myrna and Melvin would sell their cakes on Facebook. They would corner the wedding cake business in Iloilo City because their cakes were fondant cakes. I don't know if you're familiar. Ito po yung intricate cakes na mukhang matigas pero masarap naman pala. And they were able to do well with their little business. But soon, they wanted to expand. And of course, they needed capital. So they went back to Mutya and said, Miss Mutya, kailangan namin ng capital. Where can we access capital? And Mutya researched, she found out that in Land Bank, there is a returning OFW loan package. So they put together a business plan, they applied in Land Bank, and unfortunately, they were denied. They were denied the loan. Now, the story could have ended there. They were denied the loan, they kept at a very micro business, tapos na yung kwento. But Mutya, having been trained well by our groups, actually did not quit. And she did not quit on Melvin and Myrna. She went back to Land Bank and asked them, why did you deny Mutya? Why did you not give Myrn's Creation the loan that they applied for? And the Land Bank office said, well, kulang sila ng food safety seminar. They're lacking a food safety seminar. Their business plan isn't up to par. It's not of a high quality, and et cetera, about 4 or 5 things. So what Mutya did, I think, is still a type of innovation. Because she did not quit. She went back to Mutya and Melvin, and together they worked on all of these requirements that they were lacking. Inisa-isa po nila. They attended the Negosyo Center, had a food safety seminar where Mutya and Melvin could attend. They went over the business plan again and improved it based on the comments of Land Bank. They went back for a second time, and this time they got their 300,000 peso working capital loan in Land Bank. What did they do with the 300,000 pesos? Before, they used to buy their ingredients per kilo. Now they buy it in sacks. No? They were able to minimize their costs because they had capital. They were able to innovate further on their products. They were able to improve the way that they sold on Facebook. And last we heard of Myrna and Melvin, they're now talking to Steve Benitez, another member of Go Negosyo, to see if they can sell their pastries and cakes in the 2 Bo's Coffee Club in Iloilo City. Now, I really love this story because ito po yung modelo. No? This is a model of what we want to happen in our negosyo centers. Currently, there are 150 negosyo centers in the Philippines. We inaugurated the last negosyo center just last week in Iba, Zambales. And for this year, we have budgeted in our government budget another 150 negosyo centers. So by the end of 2016, we will have 300 negosyo centers, hopefully with 2 to 3 mutyas or business counselor in each of these centers, providing the right support for our micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's the goal. So you may be wondering, why are the stories that Senator Bamas mentioned today all seem to be a little low-tech? We were expecting a high-tech type of discussion. Well, all of the speakers po today actually are really on the high-tech, and hindi ho kayo mawawalan ng stories of incredible changes, innovation, and technology today. But I would like to share this story because for many of our countrymen, the innovation that they're looking for is really quite simple. It can be an innovation in product development. It can be an innovation in the supply chain. In the case of Mutya, it can be an innovation in the way we get our services from government. These types of innovations are clearly important. These types of innovations, to be frank, are the foundation by which we should build our MSMEs in the Philippines. Kami po sa Senado, we continue to work for these types of reforms. No? You call it innovation, we call it reform. We continue to work for these types of reforms. These reforms, which though seemingly simple, can actually mean a lot to our countrymen who are out there struggling and doing their best to support their micro, small, or medium enterprise. And in our office, we actually have committed to push for these reforms while we're still here. and even in government to see where we can push for innovation in government. Because when you talk about government, innovation sometimes is the last thing that you think of. But there are some of us here in government who are still trying to push for innovation. And for us here, especially the students, if there is one takeaway from this seminar, we hope that it is that we always foster that innovative spirit. Whether we become entrepreneurs or not, whether we continue to become SMEs or not, that innovative spirit, I think, is one that we can use in all parts of our life. Whether we are students, we are working for companies, or we are our own bosses and our own entrepreneurs, this innovative spirit is what will carry us forward and which will take us to success. So let me leave it at that. Let me again thank everyone for listening. Let's continue supporting our Filipino entrepreneurs. Mabuhay po ang negosyanteng Pinoy. Maraming salamat. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Thank you.
Again, thank you very much, the Honorable Senator Bam Aquino.